So obviously, the story of the day, of course, is going to be Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren as
Mhm.
well. I guess we can just start off with that matchup because really that's what jumps off the table. Ethan, give me your thoughts on how they matched up tonight, and really, I know this is a Spurs show, but like I think it's a good time to also talk about what we saw from Chet too, because this is going to be a rivalry for the Spurs for a decade if things go well for both teams.
Yeah, to start off, they didn't play the exact position. I kind of hoped that they would, but Chet really played that five spot while Wemby was playing definitely the four. So Wemby wasn't really defending Chet, but
Yeah,
Chet was defending Wemby. And when they were going at each other, especially in that first half, 'cause I think that's really Chet only played the first half, and Wemby only played like a couple minutes into the second half before they pulled him. But it was really just going back and forth. They have such similar skill sets. They both can put the ball on the floor, get to the rim, and finish. They can also pull up from 3-point range and have obviously a really, really, really good handle for somebody at their size. But I'm taking Wemby at 20 points, 4 boards, couple blocks. Like he was playing very aggressively for his first game, and in that first game in summer league, he had a lot of rust, a lot of nerves, a lot of things
right.
to learn. That wasn't the case tonight. He looked very comfortable. He looked like he was looking for his own shot, but also had the vision that we kind of saw in that silver versus black scrimmage that we were expecting to see tonight. Um, but at the same time, you got to give Chet his props because he came out and he did his thing as well. And I have nothing against Chet Holmgren. You're right. This is going to be a matchup to watch for the next, I mean, hopefully 2 decades, barring
Right.
injuries, but at least 1 decade for sure.
Yeah, and that's kind of one I kind of, or excuse me, that's kind of why I wanted to touch on Chet, just because of
Yeah.
the fact that like this probably will be somebody that we'll be matching up with for years to come. And
Hmm.
we've already had some past playoff battles with the Thunder, Ethan. We
Yep.
might have more in store, but man, I don't even know where to start with Victor. I mean, I guess I can start with our man Wizard 8000's comment here. I know we're covering ourselves up, but he says Wemby is for real. And I know that obviously, I don't think anybody was coming in here thinking that it was just going to be a total implosion. But when you get to see some of the plays that you saw tonight, like I texted you during the game on the up and under jelly layup,
Yeah.
I've just
Lefty.
I've just never seen anything like that watching basketball, Ethan.
He had the hang time of someone that's like 6'3" with a 45-inch vertical. That's what's weird about it. Is it literally looks like we made like a my player that's 7'5" that has the ability of a guard. Like it's so shocking because you haven't seen that yet. Like Kristaps Porzingis, like there have been guys kind of at that size that are very skilled and unicornish. But you're right. I've never seen anybody do something quite like that. That's otherworldly, alien.
Yeah, yeah. That's why Nike's branding him as the extraterrestrial, as we've mentioned many a
Yeah.
times. The other thing I want to talk about is his 3-point shooting, because I know that's kind of one of the things that maybe people would point at coming into this season. If you just look at the percentage that he had in France, but as you saw tonight, even on the ones he missed, went 2 for 5 tonight, which is 40%. Obviously, a bigger sample size. I'm not trying to say he's going to be a 40% shooter. I'm just saying that he shot well tonight.
Yeah.
And those last 2 threes that he hit, like in the way that he hit them coming off screens, remember how we were talking about that pin down action that we saw?
Hmm.
I know that wasn't necessarily a pin down action there, but just any situation where you're getting him on the perimeter running off screens, the fact that he can hit those shots, especially the last 3 he hit in motion, kind of similar to the one-legged threes that we saw in all the highlights, going into the draft and throughout last season. That I liked his confidence. I liked the way his shot looked from there. And then, of course, when it comes to his scoring on the interior, I mean, we saw the luxuries of having a dude with an 8-foot wingspan. The first missed free throw, he just
Hmm.
grabs it, and then it's like, oh, no one can contest this. I'm gonna drop it in the basket.
Yeah.
Like there's just some stuff that he does that you can't guard. And the Thunder broadcasters, that was the stream that I had to watch the game. They were saying the same thing, and the same thing can be said for Chet. He got a couple baskets on Zach. Obviously, I get he's 7'1", he's not 7'4", and that is a giant difference, as you could even see tonight.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you have that type of height, you're able to just watching both of them do that the way that they did, where they just like dropped it in the basket. I saw a bunch of tweets throughout tonight talking about how it feels like you're watching the future of basketball. And
Mhm.
that's the same way that I felt watching Wemby.
I'm just excited to see what they look like playing against like real deal centers. Like against each other,
Right.
it was one thing because they're both slender builds and have similar skill sets. But when they go against Embiid, Jokic, AD, Giannis, like these are the matchups that I'm looking forward to seeing. But my buddy Tanner brought up a good point about Wemby. Like, what's the value of having Wemby cheat on defensive rebound opportunities? And I think what he means by that is running out in transition. Like basically, as soon as the opposing team shot went up, he was out in transition, and he got a couple baskets early on doing that. But what's the value in that compared to if he were to crash the board because of that 8 foot wingspan, 7 foot frame, and actually because he only had what 5 tonight,
Yeah.
um, which you would expect a lot more from somebody at his size.
Yeah, and for context, like Chet had 9, right?
Yeah.
But I think also, and not even to necessarily make excuses, because I agree with what you just said. But at the same time, he is playing the 4, and we're
Yeah.
playing him a little
True.
bit more on the perimeter. And you saw Zach working a lot tonight in the paint, even when things didn't go well for Zach. Like he was the guy in the paint. Same thing with
Mm.
Bassie. We did get to see like. I think it was only like a 4-minute stretch, but we got to see a little bit of Bassie and Wembanyama in the front court together. Um, I, you know, the Shams report was legit.
Yeah.
I know that Pop and the guys they're saying we're trying to figure out where he's going to play, but I think the 4 is where he's going to be at least, at 19 years old as of right now. We'll see as the years progress. And if he adds more muscle, maybe when he's 23 years old and he's maybe up to like 245 or something at that point, you know what I mean? Or maybe we'll have to see how much weight he puts on. But it seemed like he did insinuate at media day that he wanted to stop right now, but kind of it seemed like he was insinuating that he would continue to put weight on in
Hmm.
future off seasons as his body kind of grows and develops. So that could maybe be a Sohan Wemby front court way down the line. Obviously, there's a lot of contract stuff there too. But as of right now, it seems like he's going to be at that 4 position. And so I think that might take away from his rebound stats. Long-winded way of saying that.
Yeah, for sure. And I also just like watching him in summer league and with his Paris team and watching highlights. He really doesn't like that's not his game. Like fighting for boards. Like I know he's 7'4", but that's not really what he
That is
does.
true.
He's always kind of wanted to push the tempo and get out in transition. That's kind of always what he's done, and it was effective when we could actually get the rebound over Chet, um, which proved to be difficult at times because poor Zach 6'11" compared to his 7'1". But he was really fighting down there. Shout out to Zach Collins. He was putting in work. My poor guy was on the ground probably just as much as he was standing on his 2 feet.
Yeah, and our guy Too Clutch Clory makes a great point here. Facts. Can't wait to see
Yeah.
Sohan and Keldon next to him cutting hard when he gets it at the elbow off his flashes. Yeah, yeah. Okay, we got to talk about Wemby defensively. We kind of talked about
Yeah.
him offensively, and the first thing when you're talking about that is J Dub gets the crossover,
Yep.
clean crossover.
Yep.
Poor guy still gets stuffed, man, because he can just recover. He can get crossed up and still block you.
Yeah.
Like, and the crazy thing was, it's just like he does a little stumble, and then he's like, okay, he's over there. Let me just like give effort. Anyways, yeah, he impacts a lot. Not only with just his own ability in one-on-one situations, and it's so funny too because I think he's going to get the timing down
Hmm.
because there were so many where he was like just fingertips away and like they went in, and it's just like still the fact that he even got that close to potentially blocking it from when the shot was taken. I think he's going to get the timing down on more of those, and we're going to see. I It's going to be interesting to see how many blocks he averages this year, dude. He might have a chance to like be like up there like 2 or 3. I
Yeah.
know that sounds crazy ambitious, but who in the NBA? I mean, okay, maybe Manute Bol, but like Manute didn't move like him. Like who's had a 8 foot wingspan that moves like him? It's not like like I'm not trying to disrespect other people. It's just he's just you can't really include him in the standards of other discussions whenever it comes to blocks when you
Hmm.
consider his body frame.
Yeah. No, you're right. It'll have to come game to game
That
because
might be ambitious, but
it'll depend on the matchups, right? Because like tonight he only had one block, and why that was in my eyes was he was guarding Lou Dort, J Dub. it's like 3-4s. And so
Mhm.
he was at the 3-point line for most of his defensive possessions. So if he's guarding guys that are like true fours and they're kind of in that dunker spot in the mid range, he's going to get a lot of blocks because of what Tanner's saying. He has the potential to be the greatest recovery / help defender out there because of his length, and he has such great instincts as far as has a knack for the ball and can find it and block it because of his 8-foot wingspan. So it'll depend. If he's doing that, he's going to have 6 blocks a game. If he's guarding guys along the perimeter the entire time, it might be a struggle because he's just not close enough, even for him.